What's up, guys? Brady here, coming at you with a review for the new Jungle Rot album, Cruel Face of War, released almost a month ago now, May 8th. Procrastination job of epic proportions from your boy here, but here we are, talking about this death metal band. It's their 12th album, and it's the third album from them that I've gotten into. On the band's prior two records, I really enjoyed especially their riffing style, just embracing a little bit more groove instead of just your standard death metal tremolo riffs and chugs. And I was happy to hear on this record that the band does embrace groove pretty wholeheartedly for a good amount of the guitar riffs on here. After you get past the intro track, which is literally just a bunch of jungle noises, which I guess is fitting of the band's name. I'm not sure why they didn't do this on the self-titled record, but they decided to do it on this one. And yeah, the song it's just kind of there. It doesn't really add a whole lot to the listening experience, as is normally the case for these kind of instrumental, or in this case, not even instrumental. It's just jungle noises. These intro type tracks. But after you get past that, the first two proper tracks on your Apocalyptic Dawn and the title track, Cruel Face of War, do have some very memorable and catchy grooves to them, just in the riff department. On Apocalyptic Dawn, you do have a good amount of those kind of meandering tremolo riffs, but they still have some infectious rhythms to them, and they're contrasted with these like slamming open mosh riffs, and it gives the song a good contrast. The title track maybe has some of the best riffing on the album. I love just those very straightforward and to the point but memorable bottom heavy groove riffs that you hear right away in the song. Later on, you get like this really chuggy, like almost slam influenced breakdown part that leads into another just really great riff and some catchy vocal cadences. This is probably the most memorable track on the album, which it's the title track, so that's great. That's usually, I feel like, what title tracks try to do. I also think the album picks up a lot of steam in the middle with the track Radicalized. You then have Blade of Betrayal and When Elders Rise after that. Radicalized, though, I will shout out right away. I like the Tom intro. And then the song kind of splits things up and it mixes things up on the record because it kicks into almost a breakdown right away. And this is just a very percussive, stomping song. And again, it mixes things up from the typical, blast beat tremolo riff combo that's also used a lot on here. But just in the stomp that this song has, it also brings in some of the best riffs on the record. The verses almost have like that stop and start dynamic that's constantly keeping you on your toes, but it never feels like it's killing the energy, which oftentimes parts like that will do. Blade of Betrayal has a really groovy verse riff, and there's also, again, more of like a slam influence part that comes in near the bridge. And then When the Elders Rise has a really menacing main riff, and in the verses, you get some closed hi-hat parts, which is unconventional for death metal, but it also has some very memorable grooves going on over it, and then the vocals kick in and the song kicks up the energy again. And yeah, just more great like cascading guitar riffs on this song too. The middle of the record here is probably where the album has the most momentum. So as you can see, the album definitely has some highlights. But for me, there were a few elements of it that I found to be a little frustrating. My biggest irritant with this album by far is just the lead guitar work. It is so repetitive. All of these solos sound almost exactly the same. Like almost all of the lead sections on here, it's the same like squealy dive bombs that just keep happening over and over and over again in all of these songs. And then when the lead guitar work isn't just that the entire time, it's oftentimes just very like simple, very slow-paced melodies and rhythms that just don't feel very energetic or very creative. Even on a track I like Blade of Betrayal, just the lead sections on that song leave a bit to be desired. Also, Suffer in Silence is another song that I just feel like has an underwhelming solo. Legacy of the Damned to just more like familiar lead melodies that in this case, in this song, actually are complemented or uncomplimented, I should say, by some also just some underwhelming riffs. And as far as like those dive bomb type of solos that are in almost every song, you can find them in almost every song, even songs that I like on here, like Apocalyptic Dawn. I remember when I first heard it in that song, I kind of liked it at first because I thought it spiced things up. But when you then hear it on every other track after it, it wears out its welcome very fast. I singled out the two sections of the album, the start of the album and also the middle, where the quality is the best and just the tracks are the most consistent and the most memorable. But there's also a flip side of that because the rest of the album is just feels a little bit underwhelming, especially the end of it, because you got like 4 tracks in a row that for me just whizzed by without much memorability. The track Horror's Vial featuring Benediction is one of those songs where I feel like maybe the band was leaning a bit too much on the guest feature to spice things up and just didn't put enough energy into the song itself, because I find the riffing very forgettable in this one. Same thing with all of just the melodies in this song. I just don't feel like they do anything super creative. They feel derivative in a sense that it's not like derivative in a sense that they're taking inspiration. It's more derivative in a sense that like I just feel a little understimulated. Like I've heard this song before. I already talked about Legacy of the Damned, just some very familiar sounding lead work and some underwhelming riffs. You got the track Rot Riffs. The second to last song on here, which I had high hopes for. I mean, the band is naming it after themselves, calling it Rot Riffs, but the song just never quite fully settles into its energy. It's a lot of that stop-start thing the whole time, and in this case, it really draws back from the energy. It does start out with like a fairly interesting build up, and the song is very riff focused, which I appreciate, but it's just the song keeps stopping and going in and then stopping and going in, and then as a result, like, you're never fully able to settle in. You keep being jostled, and then the riffs don't hit the same. It's almost the opposite of what I said about Radicalized earlier, how that song had the stop start verses that mix things up. This track does it too much, and it's to the point where like it just keeps killing the momentum, like I was saying. And then you got the closer, Hollow Husk. I was really hoping the song would pick things up a little bit more, but it doesn't really. The riffing I find generic once again, and it doesn't have enough energy to be that powerful album closer that I think this album really could have benefited from having. Also, in the first half of the record, you have the double whammy of Maniacal and Suffer in Silence, which again just kind of bring down the album's energy. Maniacal, you hear it right away. I mean, it's got a very sluggish start to it. The energy does kick up in the verses, but riff-wise, I think the song focuses a bit too much on just pure chugs, and there's just not enough dynamics in it. I do think that the dissonance in the song is the most interesting aspect of it, but I don't quite think that it's pushed enough. I think if it was done pretty much for most of the song, it would have given the song a lot more personality. You hear that dissonance and like that really short tremolo riff, and then even the solo on here, which I mean, this might be one of the best solos on the record just because it switches things up. But I don't quite think that this dissonance was pushed to the forefront enough on this song. And yeah, Suffer in Silence, it's got the forgettable solo. The riffing is okay. It's more hit or miss. It does have some cool moments, but again, it's a lot of mostly just chugs and tremolo riffs. There's nothing like outright bad on here as far as entire songs. I think the worst aspect of this album for me is all those repetitive solos. The overall result, purely song to song, is about half of the tracks are pretty memorable, worth adding to your playlist, and half of the tracks are kind of just generic death metal. But production-wise, I'll give them some points because I think it does strike that good balance between being raw and being a bit lo-fi, but also being still somewhat accessible and still somewhat clear. The vocals have a lot of like this scratchy rasp to them that I actually think works. It makes the record sound a little bit more unique compared to maybe some other death metal bands. I think maybe one more thing the band could have improved on this record was drum-wise. It's a lot of the same grooves on here, a lot of skank beats and blast beats. I think maybe some more unconventional grooves on the drums would have really spiced this record up. But overall, I mean, it's still a solid record. If you're a death metal fan, if you're a fan of Jungle Rot in particular, you're probably going to enjoy this record. As for me, I find the record to be a little bit uneven, and I think there's some kinks that the band needs to work out on their next one. I definitely would say this is probably the weakest of the 3 Jungle Rot records now that I have listened to. But still, I mean, props to this band. I mean, they've been an underground, like, death metal band since the 90s, and they're still going with their 12th album, and I will be here for album 13. This album gets a 16 out of 30 for me. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. Remember to hit the subscribe button for more rock and metal-related content and album reviews. Comment below your thoughts on this record if you have heard it. And until next time, thank you guys again so much for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.